Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. All right, welcome everybody. We're back in the saddle at the Mecca wood table. I'm really digging the way this table looks on camera.
Yeah, it looks great.
Anyway, so we have the specialist of guesses today.
Guesses.
Guestesses. The specialistes of guestesses today. My lovely wife. I would ask how she's doing, but I already know. But you can tell everybody else how you're doing.
Yeah, you can tell me how you're doing.
You want the truth, or?
Actually, we do.
Yeah, we always want the truth here.
We always want the truth. So when did we start prep for you?
The day after Thanksgiving.
The Last Supper.
Was that on purpose, I imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, when's the last time you were on the podcast? Is that last summer?
Well, it was episode 10.
Oh, episode 10.
And this is episode 50.
50. We're 40 episodes. So it's been probably about a year almost since she was on the podcast.
Probably.
Which is crazy.
Oh, yeah, May 10th, 2021.
Wow.
Boom.
Look at that.
Well done.
It's been a year.
Been a year. So a lot's happened in a year. She has been very tolerant with my putting together a new business, basically.
Yep.
Which is very kind of her. But to be fair, she was warned. And
to be fair, I was quite heavily on board with wanting to get this.
Yeah. She'd actually been pressuring me to do it.
An influent little poke here and there.
Yes.
Yeah. It actually
I want a nice gym.
Hey now.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Yeah, so here we are a year later. So, last time, we did the questionnaire and talked about fitness as it pertains in general. And somebody decided to take a leap and get back on stage since that time. So what made you want to get back on stage? After, mind you, there was an 8-year layoff. So I'll preface this with her first show was in 2013. Or excuse me.
2011.
Oh, was it 11?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got your pro card in 14. 2 pro cards in 2014.
Oh, maybe it was 12 then.
Yeah, so it had to be.
It was 12.
2 years.
I did 12, 13, 14. Mm-hmm.
No, I think you just did 13 and 14.
No, because we got married in 13, and I did one show
Oh,
in 13,
that's right.
and I'd already done 3.
Okay, so yeah. So 2012, first one. Anyway, fast forward, took her 2 years, got a pro card in figure in both the NGA first at the Northwest Natural here in Boise, and then before that, she actually got her pro card up in Seattle at the Washington State Natural. So that was April, and then the Northwest Natural was the beginning of May, and then she did a pro show in figure in what was then the IFPA, now it's the IPE.
Where was that at?
Minnesota. The Minnesota. And she did well. Did you get 5th?
No, I got 6th or 7th.
Okay, so just missed the top 5 out of 12?
I know I was exactly in the middle, so I think there was 14 or 15 people.
Okay, yeah. So and it was one of the more competitive natural pro figure shows. A lot of the women that were competing at the biggest natural shows were competing in that show, so it was actually a good kind of litmus test for where she stood at the time. But anyway, so then after 2014, we
started popping out babies.
Well, she went into an off season to make improvements, and then as she was starting prep at the beginning of 2015, we found out that there was a bun in the oven.
Right as you were starting. That's hilarious because my wife was the same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She was starting to work with you, and then 2 buns in the oven.
Yep.
2 buns.
There we go.
What can I say? I am the fertility trainer. Anyway, not really.
No, I think a lot of it is that you do get your body gets healthier because you're in so much more of a stable routine that is very rigid, but I think that it helps it responds better to that. And then
you just once you start doing everything in a healthy way, you kind of
your body's going to function in a healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so we were we put prep on hold, obviously. So, and then two babies, and fast forward 8 years almost, and so back to my question: what inspired you to get back on stage?
Do I get to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, a lot of it is your other competitors that you coach. They're through that 8-year time frame. Then there was times that I didn't want to ever compete again, and it was just because I was really happy with how my body was then, and I didn't want to mentally screw with myself and get to what I needed to do for competing, and then have your off season is always hard to get into when you've been looked a certain way. And so I think that watching some of your other bikini girls, then they were very inspiring just with how they handled their prep and how they handled their off season. And a big part of it for me was to not completely immerse myself in prep, to still have other things that are important in my life. So then when you do get past that last show, then you're not going through a depression because that's all you've been doing for the last 6 months. Yeah, it's like you lose your identity a little bit
because it's all one thing.
And
then
you're just so hyper focused.
Sure.
And so if I mean, and this is for me, and I think that other people felt like that too, was that, and it was why I didn't want to compete, was because I didn't know if I could compete and still have enough focus with the kids, with my work, and with everything else that comes from that. And so I didn't know if it was something that would be possible to have a balanced lifestyle and do, which, I mean, you can tell me all day that it is, but it's like whether or not I can actually do it.
Oh, it's a very personal show.
Yeah, it's definitely, which actually I would say that through this prep, then this was the easiest prep I've ever done. And I think part of it was because I had other things that I was focused on too.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
cool.
It's like you need to have that distraction and other things. So.
Well, they're like, even though I'm not saying you were immature before, but
it's definitely a maturity thing too.
There's
for
definitely
sure.
a maturity level that comes, like, you just have a better perspective on life when you're a little older.
The reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because now, I mean, she just turned 31. So, like, you know, when you prep before, you were, 22, 23, something like that. There's a huge difference mentally, psychologically, you know, and also physiologically, and, you know, in that 8-year time frame, there's a lot that changes.
Sure.
And I think mentally speaking, you know, before it was very, like, I mean, she approached it like an athlete for sure, because she was an athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, still is an athlete, but but it's very hyper focused, and it's like, you know, when you're running track and it's track season, it's like, that's
all
that's
you do
what
is
you
track.
do.
That's it.
It's like you run and train.
Yeah, it is definitely an identity. Like going to, which really track was my identity before, and I just had to go to school because they happened to pay for me to go to track.
Yeah,
so
well, sure.
like
Yeah,
it
that-
was
that
like,
was-
okay,
that-
well, and
yeah.
I guess I have to pass. So
Right, if I'm to stay
But-
running
yeah.
and keep them paying for it, I should pass. Right?
exactly. So,
That
but
makes sense.
then I felt like bodybuilding at least helped
It
replace
definitely,
that.
yeah, it fills the void for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot. And it's not that she was like bad in prep before. Like it's not. Nobody would have ever said that she's like.
No, but there's definitely I don't want to offend other people, but I kind of liken it to there's certain sports that can't relate to any other sport. So the people that do those sports, then all they talk about is that sport.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's the only thing that they know. Like
Wow.
distance runners, they only know running. It's like
That's
there's
true. And
not
I'll never
really much
understand those
else.
people.
Well, yeah, and people that compete, oftentimes they get like
It's
the
so
requirements.
all-consuming.
Yeah, the requirements of it are like it like channels your brain so much in that one aspect that those people that are competitors can kind of be annoying because that's literally all that they have to talk about, period, ever.
Right.
So I
Sure.
think
So I guess if you're on a social like outing,
yeah,
all you
and,
really can.
and she had mentioned to me about how like those people drive her nuts, and she doesn't want to be one of
I'm
those
not
people
gonna be one of those
Yeah.
that only talks about competing, and like that's all there is to life is competing. Which
Well, and I also just really, I really didn't want to go into it with, I'm on a diet. I need to tell everyone that I'm on a diet, and I need to tell everyone how hard this diet is because this is really hard, and that like everyone needs to know that I am suffering right now. Like that happens a lot, especially with new competitors, and it's
Sure.
only it really is because it's something totally new.
Yeah.
And they're
almost
like
like
they
you have
don't
to
know how to
release it,
handle
too.
it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like you feel like you got to talk about it, and like that is totally something that is part of competing. But I felt like if I do this, then it's like you just got to put your head down and do it. Like,
Was there like a moment or like like you're sitting in the park watching your kids play and then all of a sudden it just clicked? Or was it something that you're just like, okay, I do feel like I can do this after months of thinking about if I could do it or not?
well, I had, so actually, when Jess competed in 2019, then that was one of the first times that I really thought about like maybe I would like to compete again. Just because she was doing these national shows and she just did it like a champ. And then Kaylee was competing and she was very inspiring too. Like, and it's really cool to see all of the women that he's competed, and they all have such different bodies, and they all like come together at the end, and how they are able to present themselves on stage. And so watching them and how they handled everything, how they handled prep and competing at a high level, then I really missed that. And I thought at that time, if I do compete again, it will, I'm kind of a go hard or go home kind of
I gather
person.
that. Yeah, sure.
So I am going to do the most competitive class I can, and I want to do it at one of the best shows. And the Emerald Cup has always been a show that I've thought very highly of, just because I love how they promote the athletes. They make it a huge production, and it is the biggest show in
that
the
venue
Northwest.
is insane.
Well, we're just watching the updates you guys are showing just on your stories. We're like, wow, that looks like a blast.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, they really know how to put on a production and make it so that those 6 months that you've been dieting, or however long you've been dieting and training for this, it's for something that is that is worthwhile.
Oh, that's cool.
You know,
Like it's a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, you made a big
yeah,
deal.
you're on a big stage, and there's a lot of people out
Thousands
there,
of people.
and like it makes
fun.
it. I mean, the adrenaline, it makes it really cool, and so that was the show that I had in my mind that if I come back, that's the one I'm gonna do.
Oh, okay.
And so then I go through 2019, go through 2020, and that show keeps passing. And I'm like, okay.
In 2019, it's funny because so that's the year that Jess actually won Emerald Cup.
Right.
And I had a bunch of other athletes in the show as well. And I actually brought her up to Bellevue with me for that show.
Oh yeah, I did.
And then
Oh, nice.
we had gotten to know the Craigs a little bit at that time, and their trophy girl was like something happened, she couldn't make it, and they're like, oh hey Kaycee, you're here.
Oh,
are
wow.
you busy? Would you mind being an expediter on stage?
Yeah.
And she's like, I guess. And so they conned her into, I'm like, perfect. She always, she
wanted to get on stage, right?
Yeah, when I take her to shows and she's not doing anything, she's always like, when are you going to be back? When are you going to be done? All this stuff. I'm like, well, perfect. She can't complain because she's got to work too.
To be fair, I really am only interested in the women competing and watching them.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of men up there.
Yeah. So anyway, so she actually got on stage at the Emerald Cup in 2019 as an expediter, and got to hand out trophies and
I got to
direct
crown
people.
Jess
Yeah.
Oh, that's
for the
special.
overall.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that was really great.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, I think that was a little bit of a taste. And then of course, 2020 happened, which we all know what happened in 2020. We don't need to mention it, but
we're so
yeah,
done
and
with
things
that.
kind of shut down and whatnot. But I mean, she started kind of bugging me at that point, probably about putting training programs together more for her to do that. And I think and I'm speaking for her here, I think a lot of the reason what kind of kept her off stage so long is she didn't love the look, period. And she didn't I don't think, well, I know for a fact she didn't want to compete in figure again necessarily.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she didn't want to try and carry the amount of muscle that's required to do figure.
Was that a short conversation in your own head, or were you just
No, actually that had come from the last time that I competed.
Oh.
Then I had a lot of lean mass on my body, and I think I'm probably about the same.
She's as much muscle. I think the thing that bothered her was the last, like when she was competing in her early 20s, it was extraordinarily hard for her to get lean. Very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking like super low calories for somebody with her body weight.
So it was easier now than
for
that.
prolonged periods of time.
It was. I mean, this prep was the whole prep. I was like a good 300 or 400 calories higher the whole time.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Than what I was.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
So
you
I
think
think
that
that
helped
was a lot of it, and she never had a problem building muscle necessarily. But I think it was
I just felt really thick and unfeminine when after I was done, because I did my last show, and then I went into powerlifting, training for powerlifting.
Oh.
And that was a really good thing for me to do, just to replace, like I was talking about, focus on something else, replace that void of the next show.
Right.
And it was a different training style, and it was really fun. But I don't know, from that show on, I felt really thick, and
and
I wasn't super happy
gaining
with
that muscle
yeah.
and eating like that, and I think it kind of messed her with her hormones a little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think that, and of course, the post show, so I think just all in all, I just don't think that she was in love with the look, and like the whole process at that point was a little bit frustrating.
Sure.
and you know, the information out there, the knowledge, and you know, what we did for coaching, you know, back 10 years ago was obviously not as refined as it is today.
I can imagine. Sure.
So, I mean, and just where somebody's body is at a particular time. So I think, you know, after, you know, getting pregnant, having kids, I think she was a lot happier with her body, how it was after she had kids, which is funny.
No, that's totally the case. After I had Walker, then getting pregnant, I was not prepared to get pregnant at that time, but that was the best thing that ever happened because, I mean, we got our first baby and he was perfect and still is perfect. And, I also, it helped that I felt like I just reset and like I just enjoyed, as much as I could the pregnancy time because for so many years then I had been always worried about like eating healthy food, not, you know, like I should never have nachos because those are covered in like they're all this stuff. When I was pregnant, literally every time we went out to eat, I had either mac and cheese or nachos.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, you can see, sure.
I had something that I would never have before.
Yeah.
And
It's not like she ate like complete trash.
Well,
no. I mean, honestly, it was within reason. I only gained 25 pounds through my pregnancy. It wasn't like it wasn't high stress, and I just kind of, it was really good for my mental well-being.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then after I had him, then I really felt like my like baby weight just kind of fell off. I gave it 2 or 3 months and was about
She was very
where
gentle
I was.
with the process. Yeah.
That's great.
But she got, after having baby, she got back down to significantly lighter than she was before getting pregnant, like probably by 20 pounds.
No,
Or maybe 15.
it was about 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 to 15 pounds lighter than she actually was. And, you know, some of that's probably muscle loss, but I think a lot of that was, you know, like she said, like her body just regulated her hormones actually, you know, just from kind of taking a break from all the stress that she was putting on it, I'm sure.
That's really cool. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
we had Logan.
Then we wanted baby number 2.
Yep.
So that was a
Yes.
little
That
bit of a
was-
process. But
It was,
well, I mean, it was fine, but like
Yeah.
it just, you know, it takes time.
yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Everything.
So it's not,
everything's
yeah.
different.
So like in between kids, but she got into really good shape after Walker. Like
Yeah.
she was in really good shape after she had Walker, and you know, like probably, you know, 6 months after Walker, she's probably in really good shape.
I actually felt better than I had competing the whole
wow.
time after Walker. Just like, which it was interesting because I couldn't do the same lifts that I did before,
Okay.
and I was definitely not as strong as I was.
That's
But
understandable. Sure.
at that point, then I didn't care about being strong. I really wanted like the endorphin rush from working out and do more like, even if it's cardiovascular stuff and like higher rep, more bodybuilder type of lifting. And I don't know, I just needed to step back and
take
then
a little break.
Yeah.
So was that one of those times where it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to compete again because I feel
Yeah.
good right now.
Yeah.
This feels right on.
Yep. And then we had baby number 2, and that was the same thing. I actually felt I was really happy with my body after Logan. I started mountain biking and
Nice.
yeah, just like
Yeah, I mean, she's always been in
lifting
good shape for the most part. You know, I mean, like, yeah, I've never seen her in bad shape. Even when she's pregnant, she's
crushing it.
You know, doing quite a bit. But.
Sure.
Well, I was happiest right around then just because I felt like I had a really good balance. I I could drink wine on the weekends, have some Toll House cookies, and then
Snow's falling out.
Yeah.
and then, work out.
Excuse me.
And enjoy my workouts, not have to not feel like it's a chore, but I actually got back to enjoying my workouts. And it was so that was kind of why I didn't want to ruin that.
Right.
I felt like I was in a good place. And then but after seeing his other competitors going, then I did kind of miss that, and I figured, okay, I'll go and I'll do the Emerald Cup. We'll just do the Emerald Cup, and I'll see how it goes, see if how my body responds. I'm going to completely commit to it and do it, but this could be just a one-time thing.
Right. See what you can do, and,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, and it's funny, the bikini division has evolved and continues to evolve. So I think the other thing is the look of the division has kind of changed shape a lot over the last several years and kind of has become something that is more desirable to her as well.
It's really not that far off from what the Natural Federation's figure was now.
Well, in terms of muscle size.
Yeah, muscle size and leanness.
Yeah, it's just and conditioning for sure. It's just a different shape overall.
Okay.
I mean, it's more emphasis on glutes and shoulders.
Yeah.
So you felt the femininity still
Yeah.
with it rather than not. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So
was that the idea? You're like, I'm going to compete. It's going to be in bikini because I like that better.
Well, yeah, I wanted to do bikini because I like the look better, and I like how competitive it is now. It's gotten
extremely competitive.
Oh my
from
goodness.
it's the most competitive.
Yeah.
division,
What I observe.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's got the most athletes and the most depth,
Yeah.
In the other divisions, you'll have one, maybe two people per division that are decent, and really a handful per show.
Okay.
With the bodybuilders, even at Emerald Cup, I mean, they look, most of them look good, but the winners of the classes look really good.
They're very clear that that's
the
winner.
I will say I am very impressed with the wellness division and
Wellness is
how
cool.
much that's taken off.
Yeah.
That one is it's not right for me, but it is I like the division a lot. And actually, I mean, the look that the girls are coming in with is really good. If at first I imagined it being girls with a teeny tiny upper body and then giant legs, but that's not how
It's not how it looks.
It's not like
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean,
so.
it definitely is
balance.
bottom heavy, but
Right.
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, the bodybuilders, I guess, for example, you'll have a handful per show that look really good, and then there's a lot of people that they just need more
Bucket
time.
list people.
Yeah, and
Bucket list people.
yeah, and then you look at the bikini division, and in a show like the Emerald Cup, a lot of the classes have 12 to 15 girls in them. I mean, the top 5 all look good for the most part. You know what I mean? There's some serious depth. There's some serious competition in each height division. You know what I mean? And then as far as the division as a whole, it's just extremely competitive. So
Why do you think that is? Is it because of the shape and the look, or is it because people think
it's a
more
couple things.
achievable?
It is. It's more attainable because there's not as much muscle required.
Right.
And you don't have to be quite as lean as, say, figure or women's physique or one of those. So it's definitely just it is more attainable. It doesn't take quite as much time to look the part for the most part. It's not that it doesn't take time, but
Sure.
less
if you want to win.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah. I mean, it really comes down to how much muscle is required, and I think just the look is far more desirable. So you just get higher numbers.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. You look at how many people enter in each division.
Yeah.
you know, the bodybuilders, there's maybe, you know, or figure, you know, there's maybe 5 to 10. Well, bikini, there's 3 times that amount.
Jeez.
You know, you look at the big national shows, and, you know, like North Americans, when I was there last, they had like 30 to 40 girls in each class.
Holy
for
cow.
bikini. It was nuts, bro.
In classes,
and these
heights,
are
right?
Yeah, and these are all women that had won a division.
Yeah. Okay.
At least.
Sure.
So overall winners and division top 2.
Yeah.
At a regional show that was a national qualifier. So like, they all look good.
Sure.
So
well, that's your competition, Kaycee. So you picked the right one. It sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I don't know how the judges judge that stuff, because I remember watching those shows and I'm so overwhelmed because everyone looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you even pick?
Yeah, you gotta
like
pick.
how do you get to 5?
Yeah, it takes a really trained eye, and it's a very particular shape. So
yeah, right.
You know, in general, you know, especially the judges at national competitions do, they have a look that they're going for, and you know, if you look the part, you're in. If you don't, then, you know, it's like you're a little bit off on one thing, and you're like third call outs.
Gosh, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So, yeah,
That's where those details. I mean, that's the other thing that I sometimes disagree with what you said with bikini being more attainable. It is, but I feel like there's so much more details that make a big difference in bikini than there are in figure or like women's bodybuilding.
I think that's just because the competition is way stiffer.
That could be, that makes sense.
It's just way more.
You have to narrow it down to those details, or you won't be able to.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, it's
the
like
gaps
posing
between people are just way smaller.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, in posing, it's amazing how big of a deal posing is. Because if you go out there and you can't pose, or get your body into a position that is perfect for your body to meet their criteria, then like it's all going to be for nothing.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
Intense.
Yeah.
That's really intense.
Yeah, because you can make your body look completely different based on the way that you pose.
Yeah.
So not only is it a game to get the right body, develop the muscle the way that it needs to, and to get lean enough, but it's also to be able to present that in the shape that they want, which is, you know, it's the other thing too is that's a constantly moving target. You know what I mean?
What they're looking for?
Yes.
It's always
it
changing.
Changes. Yeah, it changes. So not only with how much muscle and how lean, those two change, but also kind of the look that they're going for with the posing. So, you know, they kind of have meetings and things like that to kind of determine the look that they're going for.
Yeah.
And then you watch the pro shows and kind of what they're going for in pro shows. But you also have to watch all the regional shows and how they're judging regional shows, because if you don't know what they're doing at the regional shows, and then when the national shows come, so that's why it's going to be interesting next week in South Carolina, because Junior USA's is really the first big national show.
And you're going, right, that's and that's the third show of the
third
season
show.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Then you know, the criteria really hasn't been set. Like the trends haven't been set in stone yet. So as the year progresses, you can kind of see how the trends are going with the judging at all of the bigger shows, and so you can bring in your look the way that they've been judging.
Right.
And that's oftentimes different at the regional level, different at the national level, and different in the pros. And so not only do you have this ideal look,
Right.
but you have to match what ideal look that they're looking for, because oftentimes at the regional shows they kind of go for a little bit of a softer look, and then at the national shows they go for a harder, more muscular look, and then at the pro level they scale it back and kind of go for a softer look again. It happens all the time, and it changes all the time.
So this is where the art and the science and how important it is to have.
So not only do you have to have an eye for that, but you have to be able to manipulate the athlete's body to that, and depending on which show you're going to. And the other screwball that comes into it is it totally depends on who else shows up. Because if everybody in your class or in the show, in your division, so say bikini, shows up with a certain look and you don't have that look, even if your look is by the criteria better, it just becomes you're an outlier. And so you either do really good or really bad.
Yeah.
And so if you don't kind of fit in with the rest of the group, then you could be overlooked or you could be tossed out. And that happens all the time.
What a fascinating sport. That is wild to me.
For people getting into this, it's like, and there's other people that talk about the criteria and the way that this is going on podcasts and stuff. And it's really interesting to kind of listen to and get everybody's perspective. But like, you know, that's something as a coach, like you have to watch. And so, you know, like this weekend, for example, there's 3 shows that I have to watch.
Yeah.
Just so I know what the trends are, who's winning, what they're judging on. So I have to break down and look at what, like, who's winning, why they picked her, what shape she has, and then I have to be able to manipulate that look with my athletes depending on which show they're going to. So it's not necessarily just bringing what I feel is that athlete's best look.
Sure.
It's making them look like what the judges want them to look like, which, you know, you have to understand how to manipulate that.
Right. And in a correct way, healthy way, in a way that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I'm glad I'm not doing it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a lot.
Wild.
But
So so this is so what were the first 2 shows like for you?
So the Wasatch Wasatch Warrior.
Wasatch.
I know.
Yeah, it's confusing.
That one was I'm really glad that I did that.
It broke the ice.
Yeah. I didn't think I would be as nervous on stage. I'm not like I don't get that nervous. And I did novice and open. When I first went out there on novice, I was shaking a lot, and I'm like, okay, this is where we're at. Which it's funny because I didn't feel nervous at all until I watched Monique go, and I was cheering for her, and I was backstage, and my heart started pounding for her, and it didn't like go down. I was like I'm not yeah,
this isn't for me.
Yeah. It was fine. I blame it on Monique.
Sure, you should.
But that was a really good warm-up show to do, and I will say I really like doing 3 shows consecutively. I think that's a good number because the first one, every time you go do a show, then you come back with, okay, this is what I need to work on. This is what and even just being up there, then when you look back on pictures and video,
your tendencies really come out on stage.
Yeah, and you just see what things you need to improve on. And because it's
when you're
different.
Actually on stage rather than just looking in a mirror.
It's amazing how different it is. Everyone can be lined up in front of a mirror and you don't look the same as you do on stage.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you really do. It's like, you know, doing a test run. And so when you're kind of, you know, doing a test run, you want to do that at a show that's, you know, typically not the biggest possible show that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, the nerves, the stakes aren't as high, so to speak, right? The nerves aren't quite as bad, and it helps you see, you know, and get ideas for improvement. And we're doing that every show for sure. I mean, there's always things you can improve on with peaking, with posing, with, you know, you name it, with makeup, with hair, and sometimes you're kind of just
tan.
The infamous tan. Yeah.
We've got the tan figured out though for this one.
Looks good.
Yeah, I've got the tan. The tan is not necessarily a hard one to figure out. It's the logistics of the tan that are like the hard part to figure out. So
when and how and
yeah, because I hate spraying people for shows because I've already got enough to worry about.
Sure.
So I don't like doing it, and like I've done it, but
I think it's like probably 90% of the time better to just let the show or someone who's like part of the show
somebody who's like doing it professionally, that's where the show is at. So either the people that are with the show or And it just makes life so much easier. It really does. Even if your color isn't perfect, then everybody else's color looks like yours.
Right. Sure.
So it's typically not like a huge deal per se.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, all tan is not created equal. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different that I like. But anyway,
I found I really liked at that Salt Lake show then the Pro Tan. It was so easy. They booked me for 3 sessions, and it was perfect. The color was perfect. I liked how quick it dried.
Yeah.
And I'm allergic to tan, so I can't have really any of it. There's been one single spray tan that I've ever been able to use, and it's like in an aerosol can that's a self like it's not
and
for
it's
bodybuilding.
Not staged tan. It's not
So,
dark.
Yeah, it's a beach tan.
Yeah. But I at least didn't the way that the Pro Tan went on, then it dried fast enough, so I didn't have a reaction until actually after the show.
Oh, well,
which
that's good.
was great.
Right?
Yes. Well, I was afraid it was going to be like immediate.
Yeah, and then you'd have to bear through it. Yeah, that sounds tough.
So yeah, I mean, anyway, that's a whole nother. I mean, and we can get into the logistics of like all of those little details with show prep at another time. But yeah, it's a lot of figuring out those details is what can, make you more polished, because especially in the bikini division, they're not just looking at your physique. They are, but like how your makeup looks matters, and it affects your physique.
People forget that it is about the body, but for bikini, and it's a beauty contest too. Like, you have to have your hair on point, and your makeup needs to look good, and like you need to really have a glow up when you're doing this, because you can't just
everything
show
has
up
to flow
and put your suit on and look like you do when you go to work every day.
Sure.
Like, that is just you're not going to do well.
It's got to be more.
Everything is extra,
and it's amazing to me how many people don't even wear a suit right. Like, it
doesn't fit right, or like
it doesn't fit right. The cut looks bad. The color is bad. They're not wearing the actual suit on their body how they should, which it's not that much suit, honestly. I mean, look at it. There's not much to it.
Right.
But, if you wear it wrong, it can be a difference in place.
It actually changes the way your body looks.
Oh, for sure. Just the lines of it.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, and you're looking up at somebody.
And if you think of like gym tights, then like the seams on gym tights change the way your body looks. They make your butt look more accentuated, or they can make it look like it's cut in half. Yeah.
And even like a cut on a tank top for dudes even.
That's true.
Makes a huge difference.
That makes sense. Yeah, so that
so
the suit, if you don't have it, right? Yeah, if you don't have like the lines in the right of the suit in the right place, then it can be a difference of making your waist look really thick and stubby, or long and elegant.
Right. Yeah.
And
or making anyway, there's a lot to it.
Crazy.
But back to your previous question, because I don't think we got a definitive answer. Like, when did you really make up your mind that you wanted to do this?
Oh. That's true, we didn't.
I think it was after we went to Arizona for Kaylee's show.
Oh.
Then
that was USA's in 2021, just FYI.
Yep, yeah. And we came back, and I just decided
end of July.
No, that was September.
No.
Oh,
August.
whenever we went in September then. So that was
we went to Kaylee's, I think it was August maybe.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was August for Kaylee's.
Okay.
Then I thought that I want to do that, and then we went back again for the other show that was in
for Maggie
September.
And Justin and Ryan.
Okay,
and
that big hoedown.
Yep.
And I think it was like right around then that I just was like, okay, are you gonna do it? Because if you're gonna do it, you need to start like basically pre-prepping right now. Because Emerald Cup is in 7 or 8 months, and that's not enough time. So
Yeah.
I basically I remember I was like, Eric, I feel like you just keep brushing it off because I keep bringing it up that I kind of want to compete, but not like, I was looking for yeah, let's do it. And every time I would, he was afraid he would push me into doing it.
Well,
wanna do
she's
that.
dropping hints like, she might want to do it, and I'm not going to be the one to
He
make
doesn't
that
say
choice.
anything.
So I'm like, well, do you want to or not? Like,
Basically, I was like, okay, I want to do Emerald Cup. Tell me what I need to do. Give me my food. Give me my program. Give me a butt.
I have 3 requests, and that is all.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
There you go,
and
okay.
that's a big deal. Like, you don't want to be like, at least I never want to be, pushing her into doing something just because I want her to do it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I want to support her in doing the things that she wants to do,
Right.
but I don't want her to push her into doing things necessarily. She needs to make that choice on her own. And I feel like, had I told her, yeah, do it, like that comes off as like, of course I'm going to say that. I'm biased, of course.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to be the best one on
Because-
stage. You're going to be number 1.
Yeah,
Do it.
because I know what she's capable of, and I know she could do a good job at it,
Right.
But, it's just not my place to force her into doing something like that anyways.
You probably wouldn't respond as well either through the really hard days. It's like, well, I'm doing this for somebody else, so
Right,
it's
Yeah,
not as much of a
and that
impact.
is the biggest thing, is like, I didn't want it to be her thinking in the back of her head like, I'm doing this because he wants me to.
Right.
Like, that's the last thought that I wanted in her mind. So I waited until she basically begged me to help her do it.
I'm doing this, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially she like pretty much had to sit me down and was like, here's your computer. Write me a program. This is what I want to do.
make time for me.
Yeah,
And
right.
so at that point I was like, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
So we kind of mapped things out and set a start date and stuff like that. And, the fascinating thing about this prep is, in the past, like we mentioned, she had to be super low calories, but, we always start off with definitely a more moderate approach to things. And I've only had to adjust her food outside of peak week. I only had to adjust her food twice
Oh,
her
wow.
entire prep.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, this was so much easier, just the way that we did this prep, like not,
We took a very moderate approach to
Yeah.
nutrition.
I remember in the past then we would carb cycle, and I hate carb cycling. Like, just don't make me think anymore about like how I have to set up my food and everything. Let me just like plug it into my phone and then let my phone tell me what I'm eating today. Like, that makes it so much easier. And
Well, in terms of amounts, right?
Yeah.
You
Sure.
don't have to like change amounts and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we kind of took a more, I'd say, moderate approach, but that's what really works, especially when you give yourself an adequate amount of time, So yeah, we didn't do any crazy refeeds. We didn't do any refeeds at all. The only time she had a day that was off track was probably Christmas. Yeah.
Understandable.
Yep.
Yeah, Christmas, we depleted her a little bit and then gave her essentially a free day on Christmas, and that was fine. I think, we popped up a couple pounds, but I mean, on average, if you look at it, it's not really a big deal one day,
Right, when you think about the grand scheme of the
Oh,
process.
yeah.
And,
Sure.
and plus she was a month into prep at that point in time, and she had,
And I'd already lost 5 pounds.
yeah, so she'd already made progress, and plus the show was, still months away, right? So one day is not going to be a huge hindrance, so to speak. So, but yeah, besides that, we didn't have to do much. Just monitored, paid close attention to how she was progressing, making sure that she was progressing at the right rate. And, you know, luckily enough, she was progressing at the right rate for a while until I had to, you know, we had probably a couple weeks where she didn't really make the progress that we wanted. And so we made a slight adjustment. And then, yeah, those slight adjustments that I made got her right back where we wanted her to be, and we only had to do that a couple of times. So
there we go.
It was good. Yeah, it's just close monitoring, and
Yeah.
and really a lot of it is, you know, adherence. You know, when you have somebody that's, you know, adhering perfectly to what you want done, it's really predictable, you know.
Sure.
So keeping everything consistent. I think people really, you know, downplay that element of consistency with their life during prep. You know, if everything's the same and you're not dealing with a million different variables and different stress levels and different activity levels and different food levels and stuff like that, like things get very data driven, you know. And so you can make fairly simple adjustments and keep things clipping along. So
Did you feel like there was a lot or any kind of significant downturn in an aspect of your life? Because you were worried that might happen. Did you feel like that did?
No.
Nice.
No. I like you have like emotional times when you're you kind of feel like you're on a bit of an emotional roller coaster.
So in the mental way.
Yeah, but that didn't happen too much, which I guess maybe you should ask him about that.
From the inside out, you're.
But yeah, I really didn't feel like I sacrificed too much for this. Everything was just, I still was social somewhat. A little less than what I normally am. Okay. But
yeah, I mean, I'd say
with
the big things that change that are expected is just things that are impacted by your overall energy level, right?
Yeah.
So like you don't really want to do stuff that you might normally do.
Well, and I mean in our
would be harder, sure.
Yeah, in our society, then everything's around food. So it's like we're either gonna go out to dinner, and I'm going to bring my own Tupperware.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, and that didn't happen. I mean, the nice thing is we can kind of make up our lifestyle. We don't have to go do anything. So
most of the social stuff we did, then we would have people over to our house, or
and it was
go
all
to
controlled
somebody.
by you and stuff.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy.
Nice.
Or it's, you know, I think we went out once where you brought your food. Yeah, I mean, so that only happened once.
I was really sad to bring my food there too.
To Bombay Grill.
Bombay, yeah. I really wanted to try everything.
It was so good too, and I felt so bad because it was so good.
That's the one problem, is that I have a long list of restaurants that I need to go to after next week. Like, and I have plans with all of these people, and I'm like,
We need to pace ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because the reverses.
Yeah,
exactly.
But no, I'd say all in all, like we're so busy and tied into like just doing our kind of routine that it's kind of nice. Like not much has to change. I mean, what we, you know, I guess what she made, you know, for dinner definitely started changing a little bit. But I mean, like last year I was in a calorie deficit for a few months, and that's like, it's not really hard. You just add or subtract food. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and the way that I try to cook dinners is we always do like a meat portion and then the carbs and vegetables. So then it's easy for
You can manipulate.
how much you would get
so
out
then
of that. Okay.
you can weigh everything and do it that way, and then the kids get what they
what they
eat.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I mean, really our Friday night sushi nights kind of got the kibosh put on that, which is
they'll be back.
They'll be back.
They'll be back.
definitely
It's temporary. The plus, ahi, yeah. The plus side is it does save you a significant amount of money in food, but what you save
I was just gonna
in
say.
food comes out in retail therapy, because if you can't eat,
Then you
can't-
shop.
Then you shop.
What a fascinating.
Yep.
So
feeling.
the packages
So
that
money's being
show
spent
up,
no matter what.
the
Yes.
packages that show up at your doorstep are going to increase.
You never
as
really
prep
save
goes on.
money. You might spend more money.
You might even spend more money, yeah, because
Yeah,
sometimes shoes
retail
cost more than
therapy.
food. Yeah.
Yep.
Retail therapy is real for sure.
Wow.
It's a thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know. At Bombshell, they gotta know my name and address by heart by now.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Got another Kaycee
Great.
order. They ring a bell.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good deal.
So, yeah, no, I mean, but I'd say all in all, she's done, pretty well. There's only a couple of times where I informed her of her being unreasonable slightly.
Time to take a breath.
But yeah, I mean, really, I think it's more of, and I get the same way too. I think most people get this way, is when you're hungry, you get pretty type A, and you get impatient.
oh yeah,
to
that's
an
no matter
extent.
what you're doing.
Yeah. So
If
I
I'm
think
hungry, I'm getting impatient.
I think it
Yeah.
probably affected her most in like her patience level, like, if the kids
Well,
are
and my
doing something
personal
irritating.
space too, because he likes to invade my personal space at every
Always.
moment, and
Yeah, I do the same to my
that
wife.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I can't think with you so close,
Right.
especially in like the kitchen when I'm trying to do
My
my
favorite thing is when she's in the pantry just staring into the abyss.
Catch her in the
I'll
middle of the
go in
night, just
there.
looking through.
I'll go in there. Yeah, well, I think it's like she goes into the pantry for something, and then she
Mm.
forgets what she's in there for.
Because she
and
gets
then,
caught off guard.
and then she just starts looking around at things. Not that she's going to eat
Well,
anything, except
no.
for the
I
peanut butter's
actually-
usually calling her name.
Yeah, I actually went through a phase of organizing the pantry like every night, like going through and like consolidating things.
It's like watching the
and,
Food
like,
Channel.
Yeah,
you can't
like-
have it, but you're gonna indulge
Yeah.
a little
Well,
bit
which
mentally.
is funny because a few weeks ago, Jess sent me a before and after photo, and it wasn't of her body; it was of her pantry.
Yeah,
Oh,
And
Yeah.
it's
that's
so,
actually what we want to see. We want
Yeah,
to see what
right.
people's
Yeah.
pantries
so
change
when
during
you
that
go
time.
through prep and you're hungry, it's like it makes you kind of obsessive compulsive about certain things, and like cleaning, organization, and then you just you're like, oh, I want to burn calories too,
yeah.
Oh,
and
sure.
not just sit around. So like you kind of start to feel guilty about sitting around, and so then you just get up and like just start doing stuff.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, luckily, that falls on productive things, and then sometimes it's time wasting things, of course. But
Right.
yeah, so you
Well, I
like
guess it
want to
depends.
organize things, and what better things to organize than food? What you're thinking
Well,
about all the time.
Yeah.
I would be really curious to see a study done on your brain and like the chemical balance changes that happens with people through prep, because I know my brain chemicals have changed because I went from using stimulants to like coffee and pre-workout and like fat burners,
Uh-huh.
and they were like what would get me through the day and
Oh.
through prep,
Uh-huh.
to and it happened probably over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks of them literally. I would take a stimulant and I would need to go to sleep, and I was fighting sleep, like it
So it's doing the
and
exact opposite.
and then
Interesting.
the second that I cut all stimulants all on one day, just like stopped taking them completely,
Yeah.
and I felt great that day,
Huh.
and I was not exhausted, and so it's just
Yeah.
amazing how much it changed,
Uh-huh.
and it was pretty quick of a change too.
Yeah, sure.
And
Your body starts doing goofy things when you get
It's
really
amazing.
lean.
What?
yeah,
Yeah, and
What I
it's
hear.
totally a body composition thing too. It's not like a deficit thing. It's like it's when your body composition gets to a certain point, like things like that can kind of make shifts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not
Mystery
necessarily
film. It's a thriller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
right.
don't know what's happening
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, and that's not totally typical necessarily. In certain people, it could be, but like I mean, everybody's going to start building a tolerance to stimulants, but this is more than a tolerance. It's an actual like chemical
It's
change.
like a diversion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's doing the
so-
exact opposite. That's
Yeah.
wild.
So yeah, there's a lot of kind of unexpected things that can come up that you need to make.
Well, and I didn't have
adjustments to.
any withdrawals. Like normally, people have withdrawals from coffee,
Mhm.
like all the time. If you just stop cold turkey,
Yeah.
and I had a significant amount of caffeine per day. It was probably close to 800 milligrams or so.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like
Well, you do now.
It probably was because I would have 2 cups of coffee
Oh.
and then a fat burner and then a pre-workout before I'd work out. So
Oh.
like I
yeah,
was,
that would add up.
yeah,
That's
it
part of
wasn't
the
like that
problem.
every day, but like
That's weird though. How much of a shift it was. then.
yeah.
You would do that and make you
and
more
it was
tired.
slow. It's not like I did that every day from Thanksgiving until
Sure.
like I
Yeah,
added.
you tend to gradually increase it as you start eating less.
Yeah.
The
or
the
as
caffeine
you get
intake?
leaner. Yeah.
Yeah, I would take a fat burner every like maybe twice a week on days that I was just really tired, or actually I would take them. I started taking it on my off days, so then I could still close my rings on my Apple Watch, because if I didn't lift, I had a really hard time closing my Apple Watch rings. So
Sure.
I would
And you got to
take
get
a
them
fat
closed.
burner and like make sure that I am doing stuff. to
Well,
fill
there
that
you
time.
go.
Yeah, the other thing that happens too when you start getting your body composition really low, when you start getting really lean, is your sleep changes big time.
Mm-hmm.
So the leaner, like when you get to a certain threshold of like body composition with your body fat percentage getting really low,
Yeah.
you start getting changes in your sleeping patterns.
Okay.
And you start getting like you'll not be able to sleep.
You sleepwalk to the pantry.
Well, no, yeah, you would think that, yeah. But no, people start, it's funny, the leaner you get, the earlier you start waking up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which you would think that you would just want to sleep in bed all day.
You would
but
think.
you get, as you get leaner and leaner, you kind of, it's almost like you develop low-grade anxiety.
Yeah.
And as you get closer to the show, that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
But you just start getting up earlier and earlier and earlier. It's really fascinating. It's
Interesting.
very consistent.
Is it like trouble going to sleep as well, or is it
No.
more of the
No.
I
No.
can go to bed at 7 o'clock easy.
be fine then wake up? Man.
But
Yeah.
I'll just wake up at 1 a.m. and,
And be
need
up.
to go.
Wow.
Yep. So it's interesting. So you want to try and keep your schedule as consistent as possible, but that's certainly something to expect.
That's wild.
Like, you know that you're in prep when you start kind of like your body just wakes up, and it has to do a lot with hunger as well, because
Body's
you're
like, get
really
up, go find
hungry.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so your body's like, wake up, go eat, wake up, go eat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of different, and you'll get people that wake up super early. So you have to like force yourself to get enough rest.
Well, I mean, Jess posted a thing, and she was like, it was like show day or day before show or something, and her time stamp she had on it was like 4 a.m. or something. She's like,
Oh,
I'm ready
that's-
to go. And I'm like, I think
sleeping
she,
in for her.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what So I knew that she was an early waker anyway, but then that just kind of makes more sense as well.
Yeah, that girl is. I have to force her to get enough sleep.
Oh, there you go.
But for a while, she's getting up at 2:30 in the morning.
Well,
Now we got her.
Timestamp that.
Now we got her back to like 3:45,
jeepers.
which is good. I'm happy about that for now. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, this one, she used to go. I mean, this woman can sleep, man. She'd
for you.
sleep until the
I'm
kids get
really
up.
good at sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd sleep, and I mean,
Oh, that is
sometimes
good.
she'd
That's
force
great.
herself to get up earlier, but a lot of times I'm sure she'd sleep until 7:30 when the kids get up.
Yeah.
7 a.m. was my time that I would wake up, and yeah, now I get up at like 5:45.
Ish.
Sometimes I get up earlier than that.
Yeah.
Especially, it was funny after the show day. Then, that next morning, I cannot sleep that night. Like I am.
Well, it's when you eat a bunch. Your
Yeah, you
sleeping
eat,
patterns
but
get
I
jacked.
get
All the show
up.
lights and the excitement
Oh my
probably would
gosh.
do that too.
I wake up at like 4 a.m. and then I'm like, okay, I should go back to sleep. And then 4:30, and then
Oh, yes, that's the worst.
4:45.
Oh, jeez.
Every
Okay.
15, 20
Yeah,
minutes, you're
and
popping
so-
back up. Yeah.
All right, now I need to go do something.
Wow.
Pretty normal. Pretty normal for at that stage of the game.
Yeah. Well, I think we're right at our time. Any last questions, Eric? that you got?
I don't know. What do you got for?
Well, I just appreciate you sharing a little bit more about that, Kaycee.
Yeah.
Because it was sweet to hear from you on episode 10 about what, your journey was then and then maybe doing in the future. And then bang, here we are. So you have one more show, Lisa Season Junior Nats.
Junior USAs.
Junior USAs.
Yep.
Over there. And that's next week.
Yes.
So this will be released before you go. So
Yep.
that'd be fun to shout that out.
So she'll be on stage Saturday, May 14th
Yes.
in
Well, that's our
Charleston.
girls' birthday. We're going to be celebrating a birthday for you. So
Yay.
there we
every
go.
celebrations all the way around.
Yep, and we're looking forward to some good Southern home cooking
Yeah.
for some post-show.
Oh, it sounds incredible.
So hopefully we're celebrating with some hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. Well, good deal.
Yeah,
Thank
Perfect.
you, Kaycee.
Thank you.
cool. See you guys later.
Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.